confusion. In her eyes you could see feelings of love for her. He said, "Hold me," and held out his arms to her. It happened 10 years ago at a local hospital. Sitting in a hospital bed, a boy with pink hair met an angel. There was a nurse and a pretty little girl standing in the hallway with hair the same color as the boy's. A hospital employee was telling a story about him. "This child has no family anymore. He looks like a doll with no emotions. He will be very hard to deal with." There was absolutely no response to talk. The girl looked over her shoulder at him and said, "It's okay." She went over to him and wanted to touch his face with her finger. There was only emptiness in the boy's eyes. He didn't react in any way to her actions. The girl stood with her arms crossed behind her back and looked at him sweetly. She had a yellow hoop on her head, a braid woven from her hair that stretched down her shoulder, and a cute dress the same color as her hoop. Her eyes shone. The stone-faced boy looked at her and couldn't understand what was going on and why she was here. To which the girl reacted. She took his hand and introduced herself. It was the same music, and she didn't stop there, starting today. "I am your family," she said, continuing to pull his hand toward her. And then she took it with both hands and smiled at him. The boy continued to sit up in bed. She smiled evilly and glowered, to which he asked, "Family?" "Yes, family," the girl replied. His eyes lightened up a little with a touch of hope in them. "Come on, give your big sister a hug." And after these words, she threw herself into his arms. The boy crossed his arms over his chest, made a frowning face, and replied, "I don't want to." The girl got a little sad and with words. "Why? Why did you refuse your little sister's embrace?" She continued to stand with tears rolling in her eyes. It didn't stop her. She just grabbed hold of him in spite of her refusal. And just like that, my sister and I became a family and started living together. She would take a bath with me, soaping my head while I sat embarrassed because I was a boy and she was a girl. We weren't related by blood, and we didn't have any family ties, but my sister always took care of me. She even spoon-fed me at first, even though I made a disgruntled face. I was always embarrassed. She thought I was her own and calmly rested her breasts on me. We slept together, and there were moments when I was short of breath because she was resting her form against my face. My sister in this world, the most important member of the family. While she slept, I always admired her, even if she drooled on the pillow. At one moment, she appeared before me in a new look. She was wearing short denim shorts, a tank top that fit her body, some kind of keychain on her chest with the numbers 2396, and headphones with kitty paws and ears. She became a streamer and asked if I thought she was a cute and pretty girl. I started scratching my beard and asked a counter question. "Why did you suddenly start playing games?" "Did you hear about the $10 million cash prize for the winner of Nova?" She stood there staring at me with eyes as wide and blue as the sky. "And what does this have to do with you?" I asked. She clenched her fingers into a fist and held it up. She answered, "Because I will be a winner. It's good for your future, silly. You'll get yourself a girlfriend, get married, buy a house. I'm an adult. I have to take care of you." That's how my sister became the host of the Nova Game Streamers. She was very cute, and she could definitely entice an audience with her looks. She practiced her gaming skills on the broadcasts and participated in tryouts for professional teams. At first, I thought that was the way it was going to be. I often just watched her as she streamed. But suddenly, a previously unknown ailment happened to her. The doctors told her that she had to stop all activity and be treated in the hospital, even though her body was completely healthy. This treatment cost an enormous amount of money, and I wondered if there was enough to cover all these expenses. Her mentor took control of the situation and found a way out of it. There was only one way. "You're a big boy now, and you should learn," she said. "You and she are very much alike, even though you weren't related. Are you saying that I should put on women's clothes and go to the screening and trial training instead of you?" It will be easy to change from today. You will be Musin, she said, holding up a woman's blouse and skirt. To which I began to object. You must disappear. Change my style and wear this. I won't wear any of your women's clothes. Realizing the hopelessness, I resigned myself too. I braided 2 braids like my sisters, put it all on, and appeared in a new image. I put on women's pantyhose, a white tank top, some breast pads, and I was irresistible. All the guys were mine. I became the cutie from the streamer. She exclaimed, "Amazing! That shyness is even cuter than your sister's. You're going to be popular." She stood there like a little child, pointing her thumb at my image. I was very shy and thought, really, why would I do that? But I was too sexy. And so from that day on, I played my sister and launched my own streamer and career. In the window of my house, I could see some action in the kitchen. A stranger, determined to make dinner, she found women's short shorts, wore an apron, and also looked pretty darn good. The smell of delicious food began to waft through the house. In my dream, I began to imagine my sister. Smelling it, I woke up and immediately thought my sister was back. A girl who didn't look like her entered the room. I said in a surprised voice, "It's not my sister," and I continued to sit on the bed. She was standing in the doorway, holding a rubber band in her mouth and braiding her hair. And she said, "Are you awake? Wash your face and go get something to eat." She had gorgeous big breasts and her t-shirt was ripped open. Surprised, I asked, "Who are you anyway?" In a quiet voice, she asked again, "Me?" She brought her face close to mine, stroking my cheek, and whispered softly, "Last night you brought me to your house. Have you forgotten?" What a pity. She touched her lips to my forehead and said, "Fine, the fever has gone down." I began to make excuses, like a little child, and waving my hands. "Oh, I really do not remember much. I had to meet my sister at my house. She got into a very cute pose, putting her hand behind her back and the other placed on her chest and said, 'That's right, I'm your new big sister.'" As I realized my hopelessness, I humbly began to remember how, during the fever, I had mistaken a strange girl for my older sister. That very moment when I pressed myself against her chest and called her to come home. That's how I brought her to my place. We stood in the hallway, completely soaked from the rain, and as a result of my actions. "Yes, I'm your new big sister," she said, smiling sweetly with her hand on my chest. We sat with her at the dinner table. It was decked out with lots of delicious food, the smell of which you could smell even outside. She crossed her arms around my neck without tasting her dish and asked, "How was it for you? Was it good?" I took the sticks in my hand and tasted the first thing that caught my eye. It was stewed beef. Such delicious food I have not tasted for a very long time. I admired her work. After I looked around, immediately looked at the couch. It was shining. My closet was open. There were clothes hanging ironed and washed. The flowers were well groomed, and there was not a single drop of dust on the shelves. I was surprised and asked, "The room, did you clean it?" And as I finished eating, I also thanked her for the delicious food. But I had a thought running through